hunting cyber threats across platforms without moving data. I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is Kevin Skapinetz, Vice President of Strategy and Design at IBM Security. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks for having me, Tanya.
Give us a brief summary of the kinds of challenges you tackle at IBM Strategy and Design Group.
Yeah, so I'm in charge of IBM's go forward security strategy. So think about IBM, obviously a very large company, and inside of that we have a security business unit that's made up of about 8,000 employees, and we have a large portfolio of products and services to help our customers with cyber threats, defending against them, preparing for them, architecting security solutions, et cetera. So my job is to keep ahead of the next step of solutions that our customers need. What do they need to help with the skills gap that they have? What do they need in terms of making sure that they're ahead of the next set of technologies that are out there that they might need to secure? And making sure that we're bringing that to our clients. And the design angle is bringing offerings that our customers ultimately love and use and makes a difference in their everyday jobs.
IBM just announced an industry first capability to hunt threats across security tools and clouds without moving data.
That's right.
We'll lay the foundation by explaining the problem with enterprise security tools and platforms as they exist today.
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of an untold story in cybersecurity. Oftentimes, we're focused on the latest breach or the latest attack or advanced persistent threat or zero-day exploits, and these things make the headlines for good reason, and because they're very important to get ahead of. But the fact of the matter is, the untold story in security sometimes is just the fragmentation of the tools that the defenders need to use to protect business, protect data, and so on. And so if you think about the security industry over the last maybe 2 decades, for as long as I've been in it, it's expanded greatly. I think the total market size for the cybersecurity industry now is something like $124 billion, according to Gartner. That's huge. And every year you have more and more vendors coming on to the scene with another solution to the problem. And what you have is customers who have accumulated for very good reason, because they need to protect any number of new threats and things within their environment. They've got dozens of tools from dozens of vendors. It's actually not uncommon to have a security team have over 100 tools, in fact, from maybe 45, 50 vendors. And if you think about it as a defender of trying to make sure that the company is secure, using all of those tools, which, by the way, weren't created to interact with each other, to integrate with one another, is a major headache, especially when you need to look across multiple tools to figure out potentially when a threat exists. Could be an insider threat, could be an external attack. And so what you have is security teams who are pivoting from tool to tool to tool, from data source to data source. And they spend a lot of their days actually either engineering time. You've got security engineering teams within companies who are wiring these things together, or you have security analysts who are sitting in maybe a security operations center, and they're monitoring for threats, and they've got to pivot from console to console to console, and they got to configure them and manage them and update them. And that alone, in and of itself, is a security problem and a security threat. And especially when you've got the humans being like the human glue to make these things work together. So we see this security fragmentation as a big deal. And in conjunction with that, there's another major force that's happening right now that's really affecting many of our customers and many security teams out there. And that's just the expansion of the threat landscape, which is nothing new to anyone who's been following security for 2 decades. Every new mobile device, every new part of a company that gets digitized is an additional element of a threat vector that you've got to make sure that you have protected. But now with widespread cloud adoption, you've got even more. You have multiple public clouds, private clouds, different ways in which the companies may be expanding their environment, and at great speed, by the way. And that places some stress on a security team who needs to figure out, where all this data lies and how to make sense of it. And so what you've got is that fragmentation. You've got this major expansion. And now we're saying, how do we take control of that and give our customers maybe a solution out there that can help them look across multiple clouds, but also then knit together some of the security solutions which are just disconnected. And that's the essence of what we're announcing, which is the Cloud Pak for Security.
So, what benefits does open source offer in addressing enterprise security challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I didn't mention there is when we're looking to design this cloud pack for security, that's the new solution that's being released. It has an underpinning of open source, okay, and open source in the way in which it connects to multiple tools and then looks for insights and data and brings that all into one place that the security analyst can use. And I'll get to some of those use cases in a moment. But we built that with a foundation of open source. Okay, and that shouldn't be a surprise for many people in the security industry. I've been using open source tools in security as well for a long time. In fact, like I can remember 19 years ago, the first security tool I messed around with, so to speak, was Snort. The open source IDS tool, which was out there, freely available, and allowed me to just get my hands wet in security and look at networks and packets and hunt for security threats. That was 19 years ago. But open source adoption in security actually hasn't been widespread. We've had some tools which have turned into full-fledged companies, but by and large, I think security, unlike other parts of IT, like if you look at operating systems and management tools and application and data tools, predominantly, those are open source. And they're open source for good reason. One of them is because open source allows a community to get together and innovate real fast. And so if you look at like the way in which cloud management tools are being designed today, a tool like Kubernetes, which is like the major way in which cloud architects put containers on multiple clouds and orchestrate them. That's all open source, and it's open source backed by like 4,000 developers. So you think about like the army of developers who are working on that one single tool. If you look in the security space, we actually don't have a lot of open source projects that brings the security world together with so many developers working on those tools and bringing them together in a cohesive way. And so open source to us means kind of that first thing. You can get a community of people working together for interoperability and to innovate real quick. And the second thing is inherently, we believe open source in many ways is even more secure. Because if you look at, again, operating systems, things like Linux and Red Hat, obviously big acquisition by IBM, you look at the underpinning of the Red Hat Enterprise Linux, RHEL, or even OpenShift, the cloud platform that Red Hat has. The open nature of the code leads itself to many people looking at it, which can make it more secure as well. So we believe open source and open integrations are kind of like a force multiplier in security. So our next set of offerings are going to leverage that to help us speed innovation and get people working together.
So, speaking of open source, explain the Open Cybersecurity Alliance and the role that it plays.
All right. So one of the things that we did is we formed a consortium with McAfee being one of the other leads, and I think about 20 other security vendors in the industry. And it's part of the OASIS consortium. It's called the Open Cybersecurity Alliance. And it's a way for vendors to get together and develop tools that integrate well together and that are open source projects. And again, this is about getting the industry together such that we're developing common code, such that when we develop a capability in security, it could be looking for malware, it could be identifying vulnerabilities, it could be helping people with identity and access management. We're building those solutions that are open so they can integrate with some other vendor solution. And that by and large hasn't really happened. It's been sort of ad hoc. And so the Open Cybersecurity Alliance brings all these vendors together. We agree on some common open standards. We contribute to projects. One of the things that IBM contributed is called, it's got an interesting name, it's called Sticks Shifter. And the idea there is Sticks is a format that's used to express threat information. It's been out for quite some time. Sticks Shifter is a way to take analytics and put it in a common format such that when a tool needs to be searched, its data set needs to be searched, it can be done in a very interoperable way, in a standards-based way, and the Sticks Shifter will allow you to write a query and return security information. Now, it sounds pretty technical and geeky. It's sort of the underpinnings of what happens in security now. It's a project that we contributed. But the good news is we're using that in our solution I'll talk to in a second here called the Cloud Pack for Security. It's kind of the foundational layer that allows this solution to essentially integrate with multiple other security tools, and from one single place, say, ask it a question. Hey, have you seen this malware? Have you seen this indicator that might be indicative of a threat? And it'll search across all the different tools that it has adapters for and be able to return that information in one place. And that's going to save our security teams a lot of time.
So, you said Cloud Pack Security, is that right?
Cloud Pak for security. That's right.
So explain that.
So IBM has a concept of cloud packs right now. There's 5 cloud packs, and the 6th being Cloud Pak for security in IBM. And what a cloud pack is a containerized set of software that works together and can be deployed on Red Hat's OpenShift. So OpenShift is the cloud layer that allows for workloads and containers to be run on any cloud. It could be the IBM cloud, could be Azure, Microsoft's Azure, could be Amazon Web Services, and multiple other clouds. And so what we've essentially done is built a solution called the Cloud Pak for security, which is a security solution that runs on OpenShift, so it can run on any cloud of your liking, and it will allow an analyst to essentially search for security information from one single place across all their security tools and bring back answers. And that's really important, again, for the reason that I started with, right? All this fragmentation, all these different tools that security teams are using. When you install the Cloud Pak for security and hook it up to maybe SIM tools that are out there, security information and event management tools like IBM's QRadar or Splunk or any other SIM that's out there, endpoint tools, endpoint detection and response tools like Carbon Black, even big databases like Elastic, we can essentially connect to those and search across all of them. So let me give you a use case for why this is important. Again, because this is all the technical makings of it. Let's say you're in a security operations center, kind of like the one behind me here, right? And you are monitoring for a threat, or your job is to monitor for threats, and you're alerted of a big attack that's happening, maybe worldwide or within your specific organization. This happens every single day. Security analysts are sitting in these seats, and they've got to search for indicators of compromise. So that could be just a breadcrumb or something that the attacker has left that's a remnant of a piece of malware or an attack. It could be an indicator like an IP address that's malicious, or a piece of malware based on an MD5 that describes the actual executable. And they've got to search for those. So today, an analyst would search within their SIM, would search across their EDR tools, would search across other security tools, and so on and so forth. So by hooking all of them up to the Cloud Pak for security, you basically take that indicator, okay, let's look for an MD5, and within a few seconds across all of them, you're grabbing it back. You're saying, okay, I've got a problem, pivoting on the next indicator and conducting your investigation, and essentially helping you with speed and to bring it all together in a way that, unfortunately, in security, it would just been ad hoc before.
Kevin Skapinetz, Vice President of Strategy and Design at IBM Security. If somebody wants to connect with you, Kevin, maybe they want to find out more about this news, how can they do that?
Yep, they can just connect with me on LinkedIn. I think my name is Skap, K-S-K-A-P, on LinkedIn, and happy to talk with you. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks again. And if you guys want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here or go to tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.